Welcome in, welcome all to the week or the midweek update. Me and Mr. Nathan are here and ready for it. We got some interesting stuff going on here, guys, so bear with us as we gather ourselves through this hard week. We've had a hard week. The Rocket
Yeah.
League's made it easier, but we've had a hard week. All right, so bear with us as we get through this. We're gonna first talk about the streamed games that we had this week, Mr. Nathan. We had Turtle Wankers taking
hmm
on Satless Factory. They went to 4 games in favor of Turtle Wankers. Now, that team was this Turtle Winkers team was very impressive coming out of the gate. I mean, it was one of those things where we have seen part of that of this team in the past, as they were an auto drafted, a team that you played against on the pitch,
hmm
consisting of Mister Woodard himself and Turtles. But it seemed just getting a new third form worked.
Yeah. Yeah, they were able to bounce back pretty well, and honestly, they proved me wrong. Yeah, I chose Satless Factory to win this series, and they, after the first game, shaking off a little bit of dust from the seasons prior,
Mm-hmm.
they came back with a vengeance, very, very strong, and Woodard himself was honestly popping off and going crazy. Um, and if Woodard and the synergy of that team can be consistent like that, it's gonna be a tough team to play against.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just checking out the stats for this Turtle Wankers team, Woodard coming in with 7 goals, 6 assists, and 9 saves, and Turtles leading his team with 12 goals, 2 assists, and 15 saves, and Clutch rounding him out with only 1 goal and a couple of assists, but 8 saves. So this team is very defensive heavy. They're shooting very well. I mean, the shooting percentage for Turtles right now is a little shy of 43%. I mean, it's kind of off the charts, and not even speaking on the demo side of things. I mean, they have a total of 30
Oh,
demos, and Turtles has 18 of them. So he's obviously going for that sorry about that, for that demo title at the end of the season. But when it comes down to it, right, it was week 1,
for
right?
sure.
And so, and I know that this Satless Factory team, even though they did not come out of this matchup in the most positive, probably, mentality of it all, I know they did even have to forfeit the next match, so they are starting off 0-2 after week 1, whereas Turtle Winkers coming out 2-0. I mean, what did you like about Satisfactory? What did you think that some things needed to change a little bit? What do you have in mind?
From the get go, first game one, they came out very strong, putting things in the back of the net. And then after that, it all just kind of dwindled down for them when it came to getting something to fall. And I don't know if that's all completely on Turtle Wankers, just immaculate defensive games that they've had. Obviously 9, 15, and 8 saves for Turtle Wankers, with 27 shots in total from Satless Factory throughout the series. It's
Mm-hmm.
um, it's definitely tough to bounce back mentally when you can't get anything to fall. And a lot of that, I think, falls onto rotations, not having a second man in place to help support someone putting pressure onto net. Uh, so I think if they can go back and do a little bit of odd review, figure some things out on where we need to be more aggressive, um, they'll definitely see some things fall throughout the rest of the weeks ahead, moving into playoffs. The Satless Factory team is a very good team. I chose them to win this series. Um, I just think they need to iron a few kinks out. I don't think that they played a terrible game whatsoever. I don't think that this is just our season's over. I think Turtle Wankers just put on a display and showed up, whereas Satless Factory can definitely bounce back and get better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Turtle Wing. I totally agree with you. This Satless Factory team has won a championship before, so you can never count these guys out, especially if they start getting in a groove. And we also have to put into a consideration that N didn't show up until like 10 minutes before that first game, right? And
Oh
so
yeah. Oh,
that could have had some connotation to the struggle bus that they had a little bit. But I have no doubt that this team will find a way to scrounge it together, be in that top six to make sure that they have a playoff spot uh, going into it. But I mean, I'm excited to see how Turtles Winkers does throughout the season, and I'm curious to see how Satless Factory can claw their way back into this. But moving on to the second streamed game, we had Blue taking on your boys on that
Yep.
Gold Diggers team. But it was a pudge show and a half. Nathan was kind of looking over the stats before we started doing this, and he was uber impressed with
Yeah.
Pudge's player rating. What was it, 7.5 in the
Yeah.
first week?
Yeah, I think in the second series he came out with like a 7.5 player rating, which I don't think I've seen that whatsoever. I normally would vary around like a 4. And most people do vary around a 4 when it comes down to the captains of the team, and he came out with a 7.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's just
his total player ranking after the first two games is a 6.1, which is
Mhm.
the highest one I'm seeing anywhere. Like there's a couple people at 4 point something, but he's up there at
Yeah,
6.1. I mean, he's earned it though. He's earned it.
absolutely.
He's got 13 goals, 3 assists, 17 saves, and 10 demos with a just shy of 45% shooting percentage. I mean, we all knew how talented Pudge was. And going
Oh,
into this with CJ and Gambro, both two talented, probably second men, right? There's not really a third man on that team. So when you have talented people like CJ, like Gambro, right? You've got all the confidence in the world to just go because you know your team's going to be there. So that's got to be a huge positive on that blue side. I will say that they do have the tendency to double commit a little too much. You can argue that point or not. I think that CJ and Gam tendency wise might be a little aggressive here and there, but it works out for him because Pudge is so naturally gifted, so naturally talented at the video game that he can make it work.
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, took a look at the player ratings, and they're all three in the top for first, second, and third.
Mm-hmm.
That is that's wild.
Well, Turtles
Anyways,
Turtles did sneak his way in there. I think he's at like a 4.3. So it's those three, and Turtles is in there on the fourth. So we got four people who absolutely cracked out,
oh
right?
yeah,
And three
oh
of
yeah.
them are on the same team. So
No, I will agree that CJ and Gambro can double commit. I think they they need to play a little bit more together. But the team sound wise, Pudge is gonna back them up if anything happens. And I mean, you can see that they all had about the same amount of saves together with 17, 16, and 14 between the two series. So their third man is locked down. If they double commit, someone's behind them, and that's the beauty of a really solid team starting out with. I'm a little disappointed with Gold Diggers. Uh, came out swinging. With myself, I was like big and boastful, and I still am gonna be. I'm definitely gonna be on their side. So if you prove, keep me going and get me some wins for this pick battle between Capone and I, please. Um,
and remind me, what are you at? How
okay.
many do you
Uh,
have? How many points do you have?
we got a goose egg right
Oh
now.
wait,
It's
it's
all right.
zero. It's
We're
zero.
all right.
Got it. Got it.
But I did talk to Mark after that series, and he believed that you know Zach, it being his first season, he's a little bit of nervous.
Yeah,
Um,
totally
and
understandable.
he definitely thinks that game could have gone to 5.
Hmm.
On a different day, and I believe him after scrimming that team. So, and they didn't come out as hot as I would have hoped. They definitely had some double commits, a little bit of ants in their pants, if you might say, with
Sure. Sure.
Mark having 5 goals, Zach with 4, and Henny with 7. Henny coming out strong there. Um, Saves wise, pretty much the same across the board. You got 7 from Mark, 6 from Zach, and 3 from Henny. Mark's a little bit lackluster in the shooting percentage. I think the whole entire blue team put the clamps on Mark. That was definitely on display during this series. Um, for the Gold Diggers, I mean, what do you think that they could do to progress throughout the season.
Well, I think it's all about comfortability, right? I mean, like you said, I mean, Zach being his rookie season and in the first game ever he's on the stream, got to take that into account, right? I imagine, and you talk to Mark, I imagine he's got a plan for this next week and the following weeks after that, going up against a couple of teams. But I mean, they didn't come out winless, right? They finished the week at 1-1, right? So they obviously won their first matchup. I mean, they did something right. So
Yep.
I think it's the comfortability part of things. Get Zach comfortable playing in that competitive type place. Get him in some in-houses. Let him show off what he can do. Play against the people that he's playing against all season long, right? Get their little nuances locked down and ready to go. And I think the biggest thing was just try to find a way to free up Boo Man, right? Because you're 100% right. Blue shut down Boo Man, and it kind of killed the momentum, right? Because you had Pudge doing his thing, right? But Boo Man not able to counteract everything that Pudge was doing.
Right.
Definitely put them behind the 8 ball in that matchup. But if you can find a way to be a little bit more aggressive and get that ball into Boom Man's hands, you're going to have a very, very comfortable season ahead of you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
So Blue coming out of week 1 with 2 wins, and Gold Diggers coming out 1-1. Now the next team, another 2-0 team, is the Iron Horsemen, led by no other than Mr. Burnt to Dust, followed up by a former captain last season, now the second man on this team, and Mr. Faden, and Dark himself with 2 Ks. By the way, not Dark Skies, just Dark. Right, we got a lot of darks in here, so I gotta be very clear about which one this is, guys. But as we kind of talk about these guys, Burnt is such a very talented guy, and he's a really good team player, right? He's gonna find a way to get himself in position to score, right? And I really think that the second man of Faden is a really good choice for him because of everything that we've seen in the last season and seasons before, even now, right? We're seeing Faden get into a good position and leaving Dark to play the perfect third man role. He's in there causing some aggression, causing some chaos, letting Burnt and Faden play that little duo partnership that they love to play. But I think the biggest thing is that they are relentlessly shooting the ball on net, right? Burnt, 14 shots. Faden, 18 shots. Dark, 10 shots. I mean, that is a crap ton of shots on goal for this team. I mean, it's hard to say that these guys need to be slowed down, because you slow one down, the other two are just going to pick it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing that I've always liked to see is I want my shooting percentage to be a little bit lower, because that means that I'm adding pressure, in the grand scheme of things. That means that I'm putting that ball towards you and making you have to save it. And I think that was pretty common with the stats that, we've seen from some of the more top teams that have more shots on net. They're keeping pressure in there, and you can see it in their win-loss ratios. They finished out 2-0 in the first week. And Dark, Faden, Burnt, they're all relatively close in stats. So this is a very on par team with each other. You're attacking in waves, you're defending in waves, very synergized. And with Burnt being a very established team player, I really like playing with Burnt. And then Faden, who I haven't had the pleasure of playing with, but when I have played against him, he's very aggressive. And it fits so well with Burnt's play style, and with Dark being able to, which it looks like he did a great job. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch it, but with 3 goals, 3 assists, 3 saves, I mean, that's as balanced as you need when it comes down to being a third man. And doing your job and your part as a team makes everybody shine.
Yeah, and not to mention the 4 demos that he threw in there as well. I mean, like I said,
Absolutely.
Causing pandemonium, getting some passes in, letting Faden and Burnt do their thing. Like, he's playing the epitome of a third man in that.
Absolutely.
And
And
so,
when we look at the other team, I believe it was Tactical Fakers.
absolutely, yeah, tactical fakers. That's all you.
Yeah, Tactical Fakers. Um, is that who they played in that first series?
They did play. They played in the first like group, that first week
Okay,
of Group 1. They took
okay,
on tactical fakers.
gotcha. Just want to make sure my T's are crossed, I's are dotted. Uh, and they came out a little bit flat in this series, um, coming up short with Kami 3 goals, 3 assists, 14 saves. Buzz with 7 goals, 3 assists, 9 saves, and 3 goals, 3 assists, and 9 saves for Justin. Um, honestly, stat line wise, it looks like the series was very tight. It doesn't look like anybody really ran away with it per se. I definitely think, you can have us. Where did that series end up exactly?
I believe it was a 5-game series. It was a 5-game series, so it went 5 games.
Yeah. So my hypothesis was correct. It was a tight game. So it definitely could have gone either way. So I don't want to put any discredit on the Tactical Fakers here for losing this series. Kami, very good player. I haven't had the chance to play with him personally. Buzz, I know he's gotten exuberantly better. He's been playing in-houses more. He's been grinding his rank up. And Justin, that's my boy. He's always going to be solid as they come. Even though he's sitting at a 3rd-man spot, I would draft him at a 2-man. He is that good. He's always fun to play with. Biggest thing that I'm noticing from this series, though, is saves for Tactical Fakers.
Sure.
They have 32 saves compared to, I believe it was 14 saves for Iron Horsemen.
Right.
When
Yeah.
you have that many saves, you are stuck. You are not moving. And if they can find a way to just get the ball over somebody's head, give somebody space so that way, you can get back on the offense. It seems like they were just having that battle over and over and over. And if you go back in VOD review, you can definitely figure out a way to give yourself some space to progress, because when you're stuck on defense, you're not scoring. It's just the sad truth of it.
And so, and that was kind of one of the things that, playing some of the scrims with our makeshift team, it was the fact that they knew how to attack and be aggressive, but they are very comfortable. And in playing with Justin a lot, I know this. Justin is very comfortable in that 3rd-man role, right? He's very comfortable being that last man back, being the last line of defense, right? I call him the brick wall for an absolute reason. Okay, Nathan can attest. That man does not let much get past him. And, with Kami, 14 saves, Buzz with 9, Justin with 9 saves. I know you touched on this already, but we have to put that number into perspective because Kami has more saves than he does shots on goal. Yeah. I'm going to repeat that. Kami has more saves than he does shots on goal. That's not a great statistic there, right? As much as it is great on saves, that sucks in the shot department, right? So I agree. They need to find a way to take the fight to their opponents rather than playing on their heels the entire game.
Absolutely.
But moving on now to one of my sleeper teams. I'm not gonna lie to you. One of my sleeper teams. Oh, and before I forget, Iron Horsemen 2-0, Tactical Fakers coming out winless in week 1 at 0-2. Obviously, the stats will show you exactly what's going on. Nathan wasn't even looking at anything. He's just looking at the stat sheet, and he could tell you, oh, you know what? This probably went to 5 games. And guess what it did? So, stuff to look at. Shout out to Faden on the stats. He's a legend. But coming up on Whiff City now, who is 1-1 on the week, ended up dropping their first series to Miraculous, but taking it to Tactical Fakers, who we just saw. But I mean, I gotta tell you, man, this Whip City team, it is definitely one of the teams that I really like going in.
Is this your sleeper team?
This is one of my sleeper teams. I mean, with when you have Frosty, Attacker, and Maddie, who are essentially all the exact same player, it's really kind of frustrating to look at because like it's almost harder to play against them because they all know kind of what they're doing, right? Any one of
Yeah.
these guys, I mean, Maddie might not be, but Attacker could be a captain, right? We've been saying that by Attacker the entire time. The entire time he's been playing, but 11 shots, 14 shots, 16 shots coming out of all three of those players. 5 goals for Frosty, 3 for Attacker, 5 for Maddie. And they do well on the defensive side too. 5 saves, 6 saves, 9 saves, and they're passing. This is one of the highest passing teams on on the league as of right now. Frosty 3 assists, Attacker 4 assists, Maddie 3 assists. I mean, it's definitely they're figuring out a way to play team ball, and I think that's the biggest accolade that I can give them is they are actually passing. They're not leaving it just to one player, right? They're not leaving it to the captain to make things happen. They're getting it done by playing team ball. The one thing I will say that I think needs a little bit of improvement was we did see, or I tend to see, especially when I scrim them, double commits. They have them, right? Everybody has them, but they might have it just a little bit too much just because, again, there's pros and cons to all being that same exact rank, right? And so knowing that you can go up for a ball,
Yeah.
right? And like everybody's just like, okay, I'll go get it, right? Because we're not commenting, we're not talking about it, right? So I think that might be the one downfall, but this is definitely one of my sleeper teams going into the rest of the season.
I'd have to agree with that. You know, Frosty, I've played with him in my first season. Such a strong player to play with. And then Attacker, who has consistently been someone who I want to have my eyes on when I'm playing against him. Because he can definitely hurt you in a very bad way. And then with Maddie, who is keeping along with the same stat line, I know I'm kind of brushing up on what you just said, but this is a very good team. It's super solid, and it kind of favors what you're kind of seeing from Blue,
Right.
in a sense. A top team right now who is, showed up on stream and out and just performed flawlessly. So that I have to agree is definitely the sleeper team. And with the double commits, when you all have the same radius of play and you all
Mm-hmm.
can do the same things, you can hive mind so easy. And it's hard to do. So you definitely want to clean all that up going throughout the season, because when you do, your life becomes so much easier.
See,
Absolutely.
see, guys, look, I might not be as good as Nathan, but I kind of know what I'm talking about. I mean, he's agreeing with me a lot. Let's just put that in
Yeah.
perspective, right?
Yeah.
But going up against their first round opponents of this miraculous team consisting of Sky, Snarf, and Iron, another good team.
Yeah, definitely a stacked team. And from day one, when we saw it on draft night, it definitely made me say, oh, that is gross. Sky being a very, very solid player. Snarf, highly sought after in the drafts. Iron, played with him in in-houses. Very solid trio, who could start out the season hot and just continue hot. And when you look at the stat lines, you got Sky with 6 goals, 5 assists, 10 saves, 6 demos. Not something you see a lot out of Sky. And then Snarf, 11 goals. That's big. 2 assists, 4 saves. And then Iron, lackluster on the goals, but he makes up for it in assists. He's got 6 assists, 9 saves, and 4 demos. Very solid team overall. I'm a little surprised to see the stats kind of skewed as much as they are, just because when you look at this team on paper, it is just a cohesive defensive unit that is going to suffocate you until you crumble. And I think for with City, they definitely got the bad end of the stick coming in first game, first series against this team. Sky, being one of the players who is going to wait for you to make a mistake. He's going to play his 50s and force it down into the corner for a teammate. And you can kind of see that with Snarf's stat, with 11 goals. Snarf is a very solid player. He really surprises me in the midfield, how he can keep everything in front of him when he's 2. Definitely solid when it comes down to the attacking sense and defensive. They came out with 23 saves as a team together. Iron kind of playing a more passive role, but he's making his plays and helping his team out with 6 assists. Um, there's not a whole lot more I can say about this team other than it's just really freaking solid. And for Whiff City, bouncing back 1-1 after that series, props to them. And for Miraculous coming out with 2-0 in the first week. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, definitely a strong performance. I expect to see that throughout the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I was going to say. I mean, they're doing something right. They're 2-0 coming out of week 1. I think the most stunning statistic that you were talking about was Snarf's,
Yeah.
because he had 11 goals on 20 shots. He's 55% shooting percentage. That's probably the highest by at least 10% that I've seen so far. I mean, this team knows how to play together. Snarf's always one of those top tier second men that always gets drafted. Somebody always wants to draft him because he's so calm in a pressure situation. He's so good as that second man. He's always passing. He's always looking for a pass. He's always there to finish up in a shot. So I think you nailed everything on the head there. They're obviously doing something right coming out of week 1 at 2-0. But moving on now to maybe one of the more fun teams in the league, in Ducks and Drunks, consisting of Quack, Fella, and Gambit. I mean, Fella and Gambit alone are one of the most two of the more funny guys in here. Gambit, we've heard him on stream. He's always talking trash in the chats, right? And with Quack at the helm, right? I mean, this honestly surprised me. I mean, they came out of week 1 at 0-2, Nathan. I mean, that surprised me. Now, I believe that it was just kind of like one of those off weeks. You know what I mean? We all get it, right?
Yeah.
We all get those off weeks. I personally believe that this team can have success moving down the line. But I mean, with Quack, 4 goals, Fella with 2 goals, Gambit with 1, for a total of 7 goals in 6 games. I mean, that's very, very low. But on the save size, they had 30. So again, I think we're in one of those situations where it's a lot of playing on the back of our feet rather than taking the fight to somebody else. I mean, even with that being said, the demos, 19 demos, maybe one of the lower ones in here with 19, or the higher ones in here, I apologize. It's not like they're not finding a way to cause some pandemonium, but they're having a hard time trying to convert off of the pandemonium that they had. I mean, we saw Fella play last year, we saw Gambit play last year, Quack was in last year, or he's been in the last couple. We know how good Quack can be. We know how good Fella and Gambit are. So it's definitely interesting to see, it's definitely interesting to see this team not perform as well in this week. But I mean, what do you think they need to improve on? If you had something, right?
Yeah.
You know how good these players are. You've played everyone on this team, right? What do you think is the key for this group of guys?
Well, first and foremost, Quack is a dog. He is a dog that goes quack. First and foremost, I've played multiple games with him. He is a very solid player, and with Fella and Gambit behind him, when you come back to the point of saves, we're playing back on our heels. Absolutely. When you're getting demos to try and get out of defense, it's kind of hard to justify, are we putting enough pressure? And the biggest thing you can do to try and get yourself out of that is when you're making your clears, try to make them with purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to hand the ball back to somebody on the other team. If you can make a touch to yourself or another teammate, that is the best thing you can do to try and get yourself out of a tight situation. Maybe I personally haven't seen the VODs, but just based off of the stats, Quack was 17 saves. He's probably making some big bailout saves, trying to push it into the corner, hit it hard. And if you're going against a team with good defense, I think they went into Are You My Dad and also Miraculous, 2 very solid, very rotational heavy teams. if you can't follow up on the ball, either you or a teammate, you're gonna have a hard time getting out. That would be the main priority as a player on the Ducks and Drunks team, is make a touch with purpose on defense for somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, again, they played two teams that went 2-0 in week one. Are You My Dad was the team that we will be evaluating next and talking about next, who they took on first. And, this team is interesting, Nathan, to say the least.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite captains in the league in Soup. Love you, brother. Don't change anything about you. But I mean, let's go into them. Let's get into them. Let's talk about them a little bit. I mean, Soup with 17 goals.
Massive.
So 17 goals, 3 assists, and 13 saves. So, I mean, this is a very captain-heavy team on the offensive side of things. On the defensive side, that's not the case because each and every person on this Are You My Dad team had 13 saves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very even stat line when it comes to third man. I don't think you will ever see that again. And when you look at it and you look at the stats, personally we didn't watch the games. Soup, 17 goals. Han, 3 goals but 11 assists. And then you have Rookie, 4 goals, 4 assists, 9 demos. I can already tell you what this attacking scheme looks like. Rook killing somebody in net, Han slinging it into the air, and Soup slamming it in your face. And it has worked for them. They came out 2-0 on week 1, and Soup with a 45% shooting percentage. I wish there was an assist to goal percentage or something like that, because Han would be up there. And Rookie, I was looking at some of the clips as you were going through everything. I believe it's on the screen now. Rookie is playing chaos, and that's what he does best. He makes everybody on the pitch look for him before they make a move. And when you're coming out with 80 shots, I believe that's the highest of anybody in this week 1. 80 shots as a team.
I mean, that's a ridiculous amount. Like, I don't mean to step on your toes or interrupt your flow here, but that's a ridiculous amount.
I mean, what did they come out to? 3-0 and then 3-2. So they did have a best of 5 series.
And they had a reverse sweep. They reverse swept Wish.
What is that?
Make a Wish. They reverse swept Make a Wish in the last series of week 1. There was something that I was told to say on stream. But that right there is impressive itself. Going down 2 games and winning the next 3 to take the series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in my season with I believe it was 2 nuts and a bolt, I think all of our games were best of 5 reverse sweeps, like in the back half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to that game 2, you're like, hey, we could do it. I mean, it's not very likely. So to come out there and pick up another win in week 1 is definitely very important for the long road, because now you can do it. You can go against the hardship of being down match point with nothing on your scorecard.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we were talking about the reverse sweep, and now we're going to talk about them. Make a Wish is coming in now with some analysis, as my dogs are causing some pandemonium back here. Quit it! Stop it! But Make a Wish, led by no other than King himself, followed up by MJM, very talented player. We all know who he is. We all love him in here now. And Mr. Newt, another underrated third man himself. I mean, these 3 guys are absolutely goated. I mean, King coming out of week 1 with 8 goals, MJ coming in right behind him with 10, and Newt coming in with 3. But they had 14 assists between the 3 of them and 33 saves, right? Obviously doing something right here. Now, I believe that they did come out with 2 losses in week 1, but this is a very, very good team that definitely is finding a way to score even when the everyone's closing in around them. They are still finding a way to put shots on net. They're still finding a way to save shots. I think that they just need to tighten up maybe some rotational aspects, tighten up some comms maybe, and I think they're going to be one of the better teams going into the rest of the season. I mean, their demos are on point with 25 total team demos, probably one of the higher end ones coming out of week one. I mean, it's they're there, right? It's we have a lot of teams who went 0-2 this week who are on the precipice of being one of the middle of the pack to higher end teams, right? Because again, guys, this is week one, right? Yeah. We've got 3 more weeks and the playoffs, right? And anything can happen in the playoffs. We have seen that, right? So, I mean, it's definitely gonna be interesting to see how this team can gel, how this team can work through the rest of the week, maybe play some games, getting to know each other's play style a little bit better, and I think these guys are gonna fine tune themselves straight to one of the top 5 or 6 teams.
Absolutely, and like you were saying, we've got 3 weeks, and then playoffs, and for the teams that lost this week, this is a slugfest of a season. Just coming out from the gate, it is going to be a hard fought season for everybody. No one has really got a freebie whatsoever. And when you look at it and the stats for Make-A-Wish, King 8 goals, 3 assists, 13 saves, 6 demos. He's playing very solid. You can see he's playing very solid. He's letting everybody involved into the game. So it's not a very one-sided affair with this team. And MJ, who is he could be a captain. I would vouch for him to be a captain. Absolutely.
Totally agree.
So, and with 10 goals, 0 assists, you can definitely tell he's just slotting the ball, and he's causing chaos with 11 demos and helping on the back line, 12 saves as well. And when we played together, we did a little makeshift scrim, and he was on my team. I didn't have to worry about where he was going to be. I didn't have to think about, oh no, you're stuck alone. He was magically saving stuff. And then with Penguin, being the 3rd pick for this team, 3 goals and 11 assists. It looks like everything's flip-flopped here, It looks like everybody is eating and storming the pitch on this team, and it's just it is a hard draw when you get blue. First series, first week, and that team is just fine-tuned as of right now. And then you kind of lose your mojo a little bit, and you happen to get reverse swept in the second series of the day. And for this team, keep going. Your series, your season is not over. You definitely can make this, and with King, MJ, and Newt, I don't see why they couldn't go all the way and make it into like a 4 seed. Personally, I could definitely see that happening. But when you look on the other side in their first series, oh no, we've already talked about them. We're not talking about you anymore.
But no more. But they did. They played very well. I mean, and they just fell on the wrong side of the coin there. Fell out of the bet on the wrong side. But the Make-A-Wish is definitely a team to watch out for. I mean, they took on a team that 3-0'd Ducks and Drunks. I mean, they took them to 5 games. It was a reverse sweep, but they did win the first 2 in fashion, right? So, I mean, that's definitely something that you got to look at. And going into our very last team is Sons of Scozy. Now, Nathan, Sons of Scozy is an interesting team, to say the least. I mean, you've got Truly, Dark Skies, and Perp. And for those of you who don't know who Truly is, he is new to the season. He is one of Fella's former players. And Fella did say he's the best that he has ever seen in the college aspect. I mean, and Truly coming out of here with 10 goals, 3 assists, 16 saves. So this is a very captain-heavy team. Dart coming out with 1 goal. Kind of a slow week for him with 1 goal, 2 assists, and 6 saves. But Purple kind of picking up the slack there from Dart this week and going straight into 4 goals, 4 assists, 5 saves. I mean, it was a great week for them. I mean, it was a great playing week for Ant and Purple, but they just fell short of the wins coming out of this week 0-2.
Yeah, and honestly, for me, going into this was a team, they could be the best, or they could be worse. I really didn't know what to feel about this team coming out this year. I really haven't played with Perp a whole lot, and I know Dark Skies is good. He's gotten so much better, and I just didn't know what this team was going to do. And by the looks of it, it looks like they just really need to feel each other out some more. I think that some of these other teams have been blessed with, they've played with each other for years. They talk to each other all the time, and they just automatically have the chemistry. I believe if this team grinds and takes it true to heart that we need to get in sync, that this team is going to be gross. If Perp is coming out with 4 goals, 4 assists as your third, Dark Skies can figure out where he needs to be personally and how he fits into this team. I think everything is going to pave its way for a good season for them. Truly, obviously, with Fella's backing, is going to be one of the better. I say one of the better. He's going to be one of the top tier players. I mean, that's what we're going to see from him. So if they can figure out how to gel as a team, it's going to work. And there's no disregarding that. When you look into it, truly, they came out with 15 goals as a team, 9 assists, 27 saves, and 46 shots. Overall, Perp shooting lights out. Truly was shooting lights out, and Dark Skies kind of falling a little flat in these first 2 series. I don't think that's going to be the case for the rest of the season. I think truly what I said prior is going to be what is going to make this team great.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I think these guys just need to get together this week, play it out, see how they gel, how they form, find the chemistry that they need. Dark might need to pick it up a little bit, especially as a second man. And I agree with you. Dark has gotten much better the more he's played in these leagues. This is Ant's first time being in the season too, so he is a rookie. So definitely something. He's definitely one of those players that you absolutely have to look out for. But guys, before we take off for the night and let you get back to whatever you were doing, whatever video game that you were playing, we will be talking about the stat leaders real quick. Now, it's week 1. Everybody who had a good week probably going to be on the top of that leaderboard. So, be patient. Let it unfold. You'll see your name up there eventually, all right? But coming out on top in player rating for captains, or for everyone really, is Pudge at 6.1, who we've already talked about. The next closest to him is Soup at 4.8, who had an absolute stellar week. And coming in third is no other than Truly, who we did just talk about. In the second man arena, we had CJ coming in first. Turtles coming in second. And MJM coming in third. With very respective scores, 4.5 for CJ, Turtles 4.3, and MJ at 3.6. And moving down into third man, we had Gambro. Now, with a 3.6, Henny 3.1 in second, and Maddie coming in with a 3.0, pretty much. Can anybody tell me what team each first place player was on? Oh, you can't?
Ridiculous.
It's Blue. Team Blue came out of week 1 with all 3 of their players in first place in the player rating.
Yeah. That team is as solid as they come. And, I want to say something for Pudge being top rated here. 6.1 at number 1. And then Soup, who had a crazy game. I think he had 17 goals. I'm sorry. Excuse my French. And he came out with a 4.8. That is how nuclear Pudge went this week.
Yes, exactly.
It is absolutely insane. But to move on here, we're going into goals. All right. For the captains, first place, we got Pudge.
Shocker.
Crazy. Who would have thought? And then Soup following up in suit.
Again,
with,
shocker.
A 2.1. Yep. And then Truly kind of running the same course here with a 1.4.
Oh, shocker.
Yep. It's kind of falling in line, ain't it? For the second man, we've got Snarf at number 1 with a 1.8. He was shooting. That's all I can say. He was shooting.
I mean, 55%. He's 55% shooting percentage.
Lasers. Turtles rocking it here with a 1.5. MJ at number 3 with a 1.2. And as we move into the third man, we've got Gambro at a 0.83, Maddie at a 0.83. So we got a tie technically. Technically, it doesn't say that, but it's a tie. And then Henny with a 0.6. Once again, Pudge and Gambro at the top for a singular team is just absolutely insane. I will give a shout out since we technically have a tie at first and second. We got 1-1 with Gambro and Maddie. Dark came in quote unquote third place with a 0.6.
Okay,
For the third
I mean
category.
we'll call it that, but I mean it's all right. But going into the assist categories, names that we have not heard so far are making their way in. Sky coming in first place for the captain slot at a 0.83. Woodard coming in at 0.75 in second place, and Boo Man coming in at 0.5. So obviously stats tell us a lot, right? Woodard is passing to Turtles, who is shooting on goal. He's got 1.5 goals per game, right? So his assists are obviously going in, right? Coming in second man, CJ.
Yep.
I wonder who's scoring. I wonder who's scoring on that team. I'm curious.
I don't know.
Interesting. Han coming
He's
in
fat.
next. I repeat, Han coming in next at 1.3. I wonder who's scoring for that team. An attacker coming in third place for Whiff City at 0.6. Now that is a jump, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. That is a jump and a half. From 1.3 to 0.6 is a little crazy. But third man now, Newt is going to be in first place here for assist for third man with a 1.3. Iron coming in with a flat 1.0, and Gambro coming in with a 0.6. So we had 2 third man out assist pretty much every second man from third on.
Yep.
So
solid third mans.
Solid
so you draft
third
good,
mans.
boys. So you draft good. But we're moving into saves now. Going back to the top of the list. It's Pudge. It's Pudge. He's back. He's got 2.83 saves per game as of right now. And then Quack coming in 2.83. Very solid. And then Truly coming in with a 2.2 for saves.
So special call out since there's a tie. The numbers are mixed up on the sheet. If that makes you feel better.
Okay. I about had an aneurysm. Okay,
The numbers are mixed up on the sheet, but that's it's all good. But Pudge and Quack both tying with a 2.8 saves. Pudge has been said 3 times so far in 4 categories for first place. So
yeah, he's very solid. But moving into second man here, we got CJ. A massive jump for first place in saves, the 2.6, with Turtles below him with a 1.8 for second. 2.6 to 1.8 is the jump for that. And then Han rolling into third place with a 1.6. Very solid, but that jump from CJ, this whole blue team is it's all over the charts. Third man, we got Gambro with 2.3, and then Rookie coming in with a 1.6 for second in saves. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. I feel like we need to stop glazing. It's so good. It's so good.
We're doing the job. We're reading. That's all we're doing. We're reading. Like in the first 4 categories, every player for blue has been in first place 3 times.
Yeah. No, it's nuclear. And then for the saves, we got Iron rounded out with a 1.5. Very solid. I can't. I don't even want to look up. All right.
So
what you got?
Going into shots. Pudge. With a 4.8 shots per game. Soup. Another name we have said many times here in this captain slot with 4.6 shots, and End 4K making his way in at 4.5 shots on, or maybe not even on, shots on goal, because that's all it counts, right? It's just shots on goal.
Yeah, that's shots. Yeah.
So, second man now, MJM, one of the better second men in the league, as Nathan and I have said before, coming in at 4.1 shots on goal. Han coming in second with his captain in second up in the captain slot at 3.6, and Faden, I'm sorry, 3.625. I'm gonna have to say the full number because Faden came in with 3.6 there in that second man slot. Dropping down into the third man here, we've got Henny coming in with 3.6,
Wow.
and then a big drop all the way down to Maddie at 2.6, and then Newt, or Mr. Penguin as he is known on the stat sheet, is coming in at 2.5. So some new names on that leaderboard for you, but a lot of repeat characters that we have already seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can look at this and, you could say end with 4.5 shots on goal, and then, losing in the first game against Turtles, they were just locking it down. It's you can see all that from the stats, but moving in to shooting percentage, number one shooting percentage for captains, we got Soup with a 45.95 percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Moving down to my boy Frosty with a 45.45, so 0.5 off from the top here, and then Pudge with a 44.83 in third place. You don't get any more glazing, Pudge. Moving down into the second mans, we've got Snarf with a 55. That is the highest
Yeah,
of
that's the highest in the
anybody
league. Highest in the league is that 55%.
from your second man. I mean, that's why that Miraculous team's so good. But moving to Turtles, very high shot percentage as well with a 42.86, and then CJ rounding out with a 33.33 apostrophe over the three. It keeps going. And then at third man, we got Purple with a 50% shot percentage. That is higher than every single captain in the league right now. And then Gambro following up with a 41.67, and then Henny with a 31.82 percentage. Second and third man's kind of showing our captains what's up.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's just
absolutely.
me.
Absolutely. I mean, we got a second man and a third man gaining more shooting percentage. Now, it is based on the amount of shots, right? Purple only took 8 shots, whereas, Frosty may have taken like 15, 16, 17, whatever the case might be. But his percentage is still higher than y'all.
Yep.
Lock it
Raise them
down.
over your head.
Lock it down.
Save it.
Yeah. But the most sought after award now, the demo award stat line, whatever you want to call it, right? Pudge again on the top of the leaderboard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 first places for Pudge this week out of 7 categories, ladies and gentlemen. That man had a week and a half, but he's coming in on the top of the leaderboard on the captain's side with 1.6. And coming in at 1.5 in second, and Quack, the quackity quacker Quackerson himself, coming in at 1.1. Dropping down into our second man is Mr. Turtles himself with a 2.2 demo. And this man wants to call me out for all the demos that I get on him, and he's up here at 2.2. What? Come on now. Come on now, man.
I'm kind of glad I'm out of this season because in the in-houses, he doesn't demo this much. But when it comes down to game time, he is in your face.
And fella coming in right behind him at 1.5, and your boy, Mr. MJM, coming in at 1.3. And not surprising here with Rook being the top third man in demos, that man is born to cause chaos in his opponent's end, whether it is in goal, whether it is stealing your boost. That man will F you over some way, shape, or form. He's born to do it. Rook coming in at 1.1 demos. Newt coming in right behind him at 1.0. So that is a tight race for that top spot in the third man slot for demos. And Henny not far behind at 0.83. I apologize. Not 0.8 or not 0.83. That would have been insane if you got 8 demos a game. That would have been crazy.
Their whole 2 series. Whew. It's Lily numbers.
That is Lily numbers. But those are our leaders as of this week. I hope you enjoyed mine and Nathan's little midweek update for y'all. We will be back here next week, probably Wednesday or Thursday of next week. It depends on both of our schedules, guys. So this is very fluid. This is the time we were able to do it. We almost weren't going to be able to do it tonight. I almost got called back into work, but it got situated. It got worked out. But outside of that, guys, we will see you on Monday. Y'all have a good night.
Deuces.